It was a Saturday night in late October, and I was the last one left in the office. The sixth floor was silent. Rows of empty desks, computer monitors dark, the steady hum of the HVAC the only sound. A red exit sign glowed faintly at the end of the hall. At my desk, the glow of my laptop lit up a chipped black mug sitting beside it, and on my monitor was a sticky note with the numbers 729 scribbled in pen. I told myself one more hour. The time was 12:41 a.m. That's when my phone buzzed. The caller ID said unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail but answered. "Hello?" I said. Nothing. Just slow breathing. I hung up, shaking my head. Wrong number, I thought. 2 minutes later, the same number called again. I answered sharply, telling them to stop calling. Once again, the same unsettling breathing, this time with a faint rasp on the exhale. My stomach tightened. Then came the text, "I can see you." Another one followed, black mug with a chip, sticky note with 729, gray sweater. My blood ran cold. That was me. That was my desk. I stood up so quickly my chair rolled back. My keycard hung from my lanyard. No one should be able to get inside without one. Trying to steady my nerves, I decided to get coffee. The kitchenette was just down the hall, and maybe the walk would calm me. As I stepped into the hallway, the motion sensor lights flicked on above me, one after another. In the kitchen, I set my chipped mug down and started the coffee machine. The small window above the sink was black, reflecting the room back at me. That's when I felt it, a heat on the back of my neck, like someone was standing too close. I turned. A man stood behind me, dark jacket, baseball cap pulled low. His face was ordinary, but his expression was empty. His eyes flicked from me to the chipped black mug, then back again, as though he was checking something off a list. "You need to leave," I stammered, my voice shaking. He didn't answer. Instead, he smiled faintly, without showing teeth. I darted past him, running down the hall. His footsteps followed, steady and fast. I slipped into the women's restroom, slammed the door, and locked it. My phone was still on my desk. I had no way to call for help. My chest heaved as I pressed my back against the sink counter. The handle shook once, then stopped. Silence. Except for the buzz of the fluorescent lights and the drip of a faucet that never fully closed. I counted the seconds. 60, 100, 200. My reflection in the mirror stared back. Wide eyes, pale face, gray sweater. Finally, I unlocked the door and peered out. The hallway was empty. Back at my desk, my phone was waiting. 3 new texts glowed on the screen. The last one said, bold, "Move." Then I heard them. Footsteps, fast, coming from the copy room. I turned just as a sharp pain exploded above my ear. The floor tilted, lights smeared across the ceiling, and everything went black. When I woke, a paramedic was shining a light in my eyes. My boss stood nearby with 2 police officers. An external hard drive and a set of security master keys had gone missing from the server room. Security footage showed the stairwell door had been propped open with a piece of cardboard. Cameras near the kitchenette and copy room had been tampered with. It had all been planned. I told them about the calls, the texts, and the man in the kitchen. They sealed my phone in a clear evidence bag. The police never found him. The number wasn't real. No fingerprints, no clear footage. Whoever he was, he knew the building, its blind spots, its weaknesses. I still work on that same floor. But now, taped to my monitor, there's a sticky note with 3 words written in block letters, "Check the lock." I was in my mid-20s when I took the overnight lead at a small, local retail chain. One of those neighborhood markets with 8 or 9 locations scattered around the county. Lead mostly meant I was alone from midnight to sunrise, checking inventory, breaking down pallets, and refilling shelves. On lucky nights, a second stalker would come in for a while. This wasn't one of those nights. A storm was rolling in hard. Wind pressing against the glass. Thin rain spitting at first, and then settling into a steady hiss that made the whole building feel like it was floating in noise. I pushed my cart down the canned goods aisle, zoning out while I faced labels and cut open new cases. When you work nights, your brain slips into a quiet tunnel. You do the steps and try not to think about the time. The first knock didn't register as a knock. It echoed through the store in a way that sounded like the building shifting or a pallet settling. The second one was unmistakable. Flat, impatient, right on the front doors. I left the cart in the middle of the aisle and walked up to the windows. A man stood under the awning, hood up, rain pocking the concrete around his sneakers. He leaned forward like he was trying to see past the reflection and find a person inside. "We're closed," I said through the glass, pointing at the sign. "Open at 8. He stared for a beat like he either couldn't hear me or didn't know how to respond, then turned and walked off. I watched him go. No car, no umbrella, just the rain swallowing him a few steps at a time. Weird, but not unheard of. People drift in from the bus stop or from the apartments behind the strip. I went back to stocking and let the storm fold over the moment. By 2 a.m., I'd finished half the aisles and ducked into the back office to eat. The break room is the one place that makes you feel less alone. The hum of the soda cooler, the crooked bulletin board with last month's schedule still thumbtacked on. I took 15 minutes, tossed the rest of my sandwich, and headed back out. Something felt wrong before I knew why. It wasn't a sound, it was the lack of one. The storm had thinned to a tap-tap on the roof. The building itself held its breath. At the end of my aisle, a figure crossed the far opening, just the movement of a person walking past. Casual. He didn't look into the aisle, didn't hesitate, just passed like he belonged there. I froze. The air went tight in my chest. I listened and tracked the footsteps to the other side of the store, toward the stockroom hallway and the break room I'd just left. I stepped into the shelving bay and crouched, the metal uprights cold against my shoulder. For a few seconds there was nothing but the rain again and my own pulse in my ears. Then the footsteps came back, fast now, running. I bolted the opposite direction. The aisle felt a mile long. I risked a glance back in time to see the man turn in after me, his pace snapping from a sprint to that flat, forward lean of someone who's already decided they're going to catch you. The front doors were my only thought. I fumbled keys with shaking hands, trying to get the right one into the right lock while the glass reflected flickers of lightning. The deadbolt finally clicked. I pulled the door wide and stepped into the vestibule. A flash bloomed in the corner of my vision, and the sound hit half a second later, an ugly concussive pop that punched the air out of my lungs and filled my head with a high ringing. I didn't look for the source. I ran. Rain turned the parking lot into a smear of silver and black. I reached my car, folded into the back seat, and dialed 911 with hands that wouldn't steady. The officers came fast. I met them at the door, with my keys and old training kicking in. Lights on, stay visible, let them lead. They cleared the aisles, checked the freezer corridor, pushed through the stockroom. The building was empty. What they did find was a mess at the rear. The delivery door pried and buckled, heavy pry bars and a sledge lying on the concrete like someone dropped them mid-job. Up front, the glass had a new scar. One small, perfect crater in the steel frame just to the side of the exit. The metal curled and blackened where the round had struck. If I'd hesitated 2 seconds longer at that lock. The officers asked. The routine questions. Anyone you've turned away lately? Ex-employees? Exes? Anybody angry at the store? I shook my head to most of it. We're a corner market. Our biggest disputes are over expired coupons and whether the bathroom should be for customers only. They walked me through the likely order of events. Someone had tested the front doors earlier, seen the lights, maybe seen me. Later, they'd forced the back with tools, loud enough to be mistaken for storm noise if you weren't listening for it. The man I saw had been inside for at least a few minutes. He didn't smash registers or try to grab cigarettes. He moved like he was looking for me. They pulled the camera footage first thing the next morning. The system caught a hooded figure slipping in through the side corridor by the warehouse once the back was compromised. He moves through the dark in the blind spots like he knows where they are, keeps out of the camera cones and the light until I reappear from my break. Then he paces, turns, waits. When I head for the front, he does too. There's no clear face in the frame. The rain and the glare do their work. No prints on the tools, no plates in the lot. The detective's best read was that we weren't dealing with a planned robbery. More likely a person in crisis or someone spiraling and latching onto the easiest target. The one worker in a bright, empty store. I didn't quit that night, but I didn't last long after. For months, every sound jolted me. The clack of the ice machine, the thunk of a pallet jack, the beep of a door chime from the pharmacy 2 units over. You can retrain habits, but you Can't unteach your nerves that a lock can be the difference between a phone call and a gunshot. The store has a reinforced back door now and a second person on overnights. They put up a new sign by the exit. One of those laminated reminders we all stop seeing after a week. Keep doors secured. No exceptions. I still hear the pop sometimes when it rains. Not a memory so much as a body-level echo. The instant when the world narrows to a key, a latch, and the knowledge that someone 10 feet away has already decided what happens if you're too slow. I never expect much from the overnight shift. It's usually the same ritual. Badge in, ride the elevator to a floor that feels like a showroom after hours, and drown in reports while the fluorescents hum like tired bees. Our office is all glass and clean lines, efficient by day, sterile by night. When the building empties, the quiet gets dense. You hear things you never notice at noon. The faint buzz of a ballast, a vent clicking open, paper whispering when no one's near it. You tell yourself it's nothing. That night, it didn't feel like nothing. A little after 11, I was hunched over my keyboard when something slid across the edge of my vision. Fast, deliberate, a shadow where there shouldn't be one. I stilled with my fingers on the keys and told myself it was a reflection from the windows. But the feeling it left behind, like a wire pulled tight under the skin, didn't fade. The hallway outside, my cubicle stretched away in polite, well-lit emptiness. No footsteps, no voices. Just me and the dull glow overhead. The temperature seemed to dip, though the thermostat hadn't changed. I rubbed my arms and bent back to work, counting tasks like a child counts sheep. That was when I heard it. Not building noise. A whisper. Soft. Near. Like breath shaping a word I couldn't quite catch. I jolted up, chair skidding, coffee sloshing. The corridor was still. The break room door was shut. The back offices were black squares of glass. Too tired, I told myself. Finish. The cue, go home. The lights flickered. Just a hiccup. Dim, bright, like the floor took a breath and let it out wrong. The air pressed a little heavier, as if the room were thinking. I tried security on the desk line out of habit. It rang. And rang. No answer. The second voice didn't pretend to be a draft. It was low and definite, shaped right behind my shoulder. Leave. Every nerve went electric. I spun, hard in my throat, and stared into the polished, empty corridor. Nothing. No shoes in motion. No door easing shut. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone and dialed the security desk again. Voicemail. The quiet came back thick as felt. A bang rolled through the building then. Deep, hollow, structural. Not a door. Not a dropped binder. It had depth, like it started in the bones of the place and radiated outward. I held my breath and listened to the after silence. The skin on my arms prickled, and somewhere underneath the fear was a small, clear instruction. You shouldn't be here. I stuffed my laptop in my bag with clumsy hands and headed for the elevators. One cab waited with its doors already open, lights inside stuttering. I stepped to the threshold and froze. The panel was dead. The car sat like a mouth. Beyond the silver sill there wasn't the warm white box I knew, but a darkness that looked deeper than the shaft had any right to be. It felt bottomless. The whisper brushed my ear again, nearer than skin. You'll never leave. I backed away, my heel catching on the carpet edge. There are moments when your body won't move, not because you're indecisive, but because something old and animal refuses. That was me, locked for a heartbeat between the elevator's black square and the too quiet hall. Then I turned and jogged for the stairs. The emergency lights had kicked in, staining everything a sick yellow. My footsteps sounded too loud. Halfway, down the corridor, the fluorescents on the far end sputtered to black, swallowing the copy room and the glass offices one by one like a closing eye. My phone buzzed in my hand. A text. You are not alone. No number attached, just the message blinking up at me in the dim. I swallowed a sound that might have been a laugh and might have been a sob, then hit the stairwell bar with my shoulder. The big door gave. The stairs felt wrong, airless, the kind of echo that eats your own noises. I went down hard and fast, palms grazing the rail, willing my legs not to catch. On the landing between floors, something exhaled in the dark above me. Long, patient. I didn't look up. I took the next flight 2 at a time and burst out into the lobby. The lobby lights were steady, the security desk empty, the revolving doors still. I wasn't delicate. I pushed through, the night air wet on my face, and didn't stop until I hit my car. When I looked back, the glass facade showed me nothing but my own scared reflection and a tidy grid of lights as calm as a brochure. Don't remember the drive home, only that the inside of my chest felt too small for my heart, and the streetlights kept catching in the side mirrors like someone was pacing me. I didn't go back to that office. I didn't try to make a case for what I'd heard or what I saw in the elevator's black. There is no language that sounds sane for that. The building's fine in daylight. Clean, competent, new. At 3 in the morning, it behaved like a place that knew I'd stayed past whatever line separates after hours from not for you. I can't prove anything. There's no footage of a voice or a shadow that chooses the edge of your eye. If you ask me for evidence, I have only this. The split-second sense that something aware of me stood where light stopped, and the feeling, as I crossed the threshold, that the building did not want me to leave, and that something in it would not mind if I didn't.